Cancel culture. It is a cute, catchy term for a vile movement. Because the cancel part is canceling someone's career, ruining their life. And the culture part is just a gang of people loosely connected, usually on social media, who are collectively in search of something they can be offended by. And then they join together to form an angry mob and go after their victims. But instead of using pitchforks and torches, they use hashtags and retweets. We've always had these people. We just called them busybodies. People who are so dissatisfied with their own lives, they intrude on the lives of others to make themselves feel superior. You know how we used to deal with busybodies? We used to roll our eyes, endure them, but in the end, we'd ignore them. But now, thanks to social media, the busybodies of the world have joined together on the internet. They are loud and they are persistent. And the most powerful people and the most powerful companies in the country bow to their will. And these are just evil individuals who make up these cancel culture lynch mobs. They are emboldened every time they ruin a life. They're proud of it. They post pictures of their victims on their social media sites, just like hunters hang the heads of their prey on the wall. Some recent victims include Mike Lindell, the CEO of MyPillow. His crime, according to cancel culture, he openly supported Donald Trump, and he believed there was voter fraud in the 2020 presidential election. After a social media backlash, Lindell's products were pulled from many retailers. His MyPillow ads were pulled from many networks, and he was banned from Twitter. Gina Carano is an actress who in a tweet compared the political hatred we're going through in this country right now to the hatred in Germany that led to the Holocaust. After social media attacks, Disney fired Carano from their Star Wars spin-off series, The Mandalorian. Now look, she may have been insensitive, but realize this. It is okay to make other similar comparisons on social media, to compare politicians to Hitler or to compare political parties to the Nazis with no repercussions. The politics of the target is extremely important to the cancel culture lynch mob, who are devoutly far left politically and endorse the censorship of anyone who disagrees with them or has done anything that they deem inappropriate, even if it's in their distant past. The beloved children's author, Dr. Seuss, is the latest victim of that. 6 of his children's books will no longer be published by Dr. Seuss Enterprises because they allegedly contain racist images. Banning books is the worst kind of censorship. There was a time when that was called fascism, something the cancel culture professes to be against. Just to show you what we're talking about, these are 2 pages from the book What I Saw on Mulberry Street, a book by Dr. Seuss that cancel culture found offensive. It's about a boy who talks about things he sees, and he says, "I saw a Chinese boy with chopsticks." That's it. The book was written in 1937. It is simply foolhardy and destructive to try to sanitize our past, to try to hide from our history. Explain it. Learn from it. But any kind of censorship is offensive. Ironically, it's the only offensive thing that cancel culture embraces. And sometimes it just gets silly, like Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. Hasbro announced that they're going to get rid of Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head and just have a gender non-specific Potato Head, dropping the Mr. and Mrs. But after backlash, Hasbro announced that Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head aren't going anywhere. They'll just be a non-gender option, which brought much joy to Toyland.
Yeah, all right, yeah. Sorry there, old spudhead.
It is just amazing to me where people draw the line. Now, I thought the movement that teared down statues of George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and Thomas Jefferson would be the end of cancel culture, but there are still plans in San Francisco to change the name of Abraham Lincoln High School. Why? Because the board there decided, and I quote, Abraham Lincoln didn't demonstrate that Black lives mattered enough to him. Abraham Lincoln, who proposed and pushed through the Emancipation Proclamation that freed the slaves, that pushed through the 14th Amendment that made all men equal under the law, and then was assassinated for that. That Abraham Lincoln, he apparently didn't do enough. One would hope that cancel culture would collapse under the weight of its own ignorance, but it's just the opposite. Ignorance fuels that movement. Our only real hope is that cancel culture goes after someone who is so beloved, the backlash would be too great.
Well, hey, it's me.
That's right. Cancel culture is now going after country music superstar Dolly Parton because the news website Vox claims that she has a dark secret. She's never spouted a political view, and she stayed away from endorsing any social movements. That's it? You want her canceled because she's too nice and she avoids conflict? What, did you just run out of people to cancel? A recent poll by Newsweek found that 64% of Americans believe that cancel culture is a threat to American freedom. Of course it is. Cancel culture is a tiny minority of the American population, a tiny obnoxious minority whose only power is that they retweet each other, so it feels like they have a larger voice than they actually do, and America cowers to them because it's much easier than trying to fight back. Social media is now endorsing censorship in two ways. First, they directly ban or suspend people they don't agree with politically, and they give an unencumbered platform to cancel culture to both ruin lives and censor others who they disagree with. This is not trivial. We have to try to cancel culture, not because of some individual celebrity or toy or book, but because of individual liberty, the most important one. Freedom of speech. I'm Larry Mendte. We'll talk again soon.